The purpose of today's lecture is to discuss how the discourse and discipline of architecture have influenced the trajectory and future of architecture. Discipline can be understood in terms of objects of knowledge, economics, biology, and linguistics, while discourse can be defined in terms of the content of the knowledge that constitutes a discipline. There are various elements that influence architecture. These include performance, perception, representation, function, environmental factors, manifestation of geometry and material, notion of architecture as an organism, and the emergence of architecture as an existing matter. In my opinion, architecture in the next 10 years would be further divided into two trajectories. The first being the discipline of architecture, that deals with exploration and design using computer softwares and intercrossing with other fields of science, while the second being the practical material-based construction stage of the design. Now, with respect to the discipline of architecture, it is hard to make judgment on the role of the architectural education on the global scale of dealing with the real world, because even though advances in methodologies can aid in refinement of ideas, it does not bridge the gap between what can be theorized and constructed. There is always a fascination with complexity, but we live in a world that lacks appreciation or perhaps comprehension for the technological advances that can reform our cultural values. In today's contemporary architecture, contribution of the cities to the architectural capital is limited by the cultural and political values. This goes hand in hand with the lack of public awareness regarding the role of an architect in the society. That is why it is necessary to be critical about the notion of technology and its role in society, and question what we are trying to produce and strive towards. We live in a world that is constantly changing and morphing, so it is our moral obligation to confront the problems in the field of architecture and take the necessary steps to restructure the system. Such actions would require further development of skills that are necessary to build a new future, rigorous research on the crossing between chemistry, engineering, and architecture, to mass-produce new materials that aid in the construction of complex design at a reduced cost, and finally increase public awareness in regards to the new architecture. The evolving cultural frame requires a new architecture. That is why architects need to strive towards changing public's view against the so-called iconic buildings, for in the future cities, all buildings may be perceived as iconic. To conclude, the new generation of architects have the opportunity to use the necessary tools to further evolve the field of architecture and lead the way towards tomorrow's cities.